Hello, everyone. It's your girl, Kalisha Washington, your parenting BFF, and welcome to another episode of the Don't Screw Up Your Kids podcast. I'm super excited for this interview today. I have in online with me today, Audrey, Ingram, Hayden. She went from teen mom to millionaire maker, and she has an amazing story. I'm super excited to bring you to the Don't Screw Up Your Kids podcast. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So West Coast all the way to the East Coast, right?
Yes,
So tell
ma'am.
us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how many children you have.
Okay. My name is Audrey Ingram Hayden, and I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, born and raised. And I have five children, five grandchildren, and a few of them are entrepreneurs, and a few of them are millionaires. So I'm here to
Okay.
talk about it. And thanks to you, I'm
Nice.
not I'm not scared to tell my story. I've never wanted to tell my story because I thought it was bragging. But thanks to you and Arlen Hamilton, thanks to you two for helping me realize that I've built something and somebody else can learn from it. So thank
Nice.
you.
So how old were you when you had your first child? And was it a planned pregnancy? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, I was 17 and I was so proud of myself that I was a few months before 18 and I'm like, "Oh, I thought I was so in love." But anyway, I did get pregnant at 17 with my first love. And actually, it was probably the first or second time. So if you all are planning on having children, make sure somebody, or wait a minute, let me back up. Let me say that different. When you think about laying down with somebody, you make sure it's somebody that you can be okay with. Because back then, I thought I wanted pretty hair and light skin and all that jazz. My children are beautiful, but it's still that's the wrong reasons to lay down with somebody. Okay. So yes. Anyway, back to my story. Yes, I have two children by that person, and it was not planned. It was not planned at all, and that is a story within itself. My
Let's get
first
into
child,
it. Come on and
my
tell the
my,
story.
my first child, her name is Whitney, and now she's 38. But back then, when I tell you she was in the struggle with me. Thank God for my parents, because if it wasn't for my mom and dad, I would have never graduated. I was pregnant in 12th grade, and my mom, thank you, Jesus, for my parents. But I was able to graduate. So, I mean, it's a lot of people that don't get to graduate once they get 12th grade. 12th grade, 11th grade, that's too close to graduation not to graduate. But I
Hmm.
have a few friends that didn't make it. Once they became pregnant in 12th grade, it was over for them. So they didn't get a diploma. So I can truly say that I received my diploma. Each one of my five children, they have their diplomas. Thank you, God. And then um, let me see, the second one wasn't planned. I didn't even know I was pregnant. Now that's a 2 hour story right there, Kalisha. That's a 2 hour story because and him and my mom, they're so close. I mean, it was. Do you want to hear the whole story about that with
Go
the?
ahead.
Okay, well, okay, with William, that's my second born, and I'm not sure I want to tell y'all which one's the millionaires. I don't want nobody beating down his door, but we might have to have a part two because I'm gonna show you his location and how he's building um his entrepreneurship. Let me say that. So three of them are entrepreneurs, and two of them, my daughter, she's at the bank. I don't think she really wants to be entrepreneur. I'm not sure. Right now, she's with the bank, and she loved that job. She have three children. She's a single parent, and that's her story right now. But anyway, William, he have a tow service, and he's very good at him and his brother. They're doing very amazing with that. But as far as William, when he was first born, I didn't know I was pregnant. My mom didn't know I was pregnant, and I don't know if I was full term or not, but he came out a pound. He was like a pound and some. ounces. I mean, the smallest child you'd ever see. But two of my children were like that. So anyway, him and Gary, the last one I had, both of them was like 1 pound. But anyway, William, when I tell you my grandmother saw me the week before I delivered, and she was like, Niecy, my name is Denise. So my family, they call me Denise or Niecy. And she was like, Niecy, you did not have a baby. Your daddy called me and told me you delivered a baby. And I said, Grandma, I did. She said, I didn't see. And I'm like, oh God. She went to, I didn't see a fox. I'm like, I don't know nothing about what she talking about. But she said, now when you had Whitney, I saw a fox over there at the woods when you came. I was like, okay, Grandma. But yes, I delivered a baby. I don't know about the fox, but yes. And when I tell you, Will, he came and I was having a period every month. Kalisha, I was having a period every month. And I was telling the father of the child, I was telling him, I said, something not right. My stomach feel funny. I'm like, and he's like, well, yeah, you probably just coming on your period. And do you know that night? I don't know. It was anyway, within 24 hours, blood hit my mother's floor. And it was blood everywhere, blood scattered. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was going on. And I was 19 at the time. And when I tell you, I had no idea. I'm telling my little sister, she's 5 years younger than me. So, and she's running around the house and we trying to be quiet because we didn't want my mom to figure out what was going on. And I'm like, my mom is a neat freak and was blood all over her floor. It was like, oh God, what am I doing? So I was worried about the wrong thing, y'all. I was worried about, oh, my mom's floor is messed up when I should have been worried about, girl, what's coming out of your body? So when I looked at, I sat on the toilet and it looked like a basketball coming out. And I'm like, what is that? My mom came to the door like, what are y'all doing in there? Because I had my sister in there like, what is this? What? We didn't know what was going on. So my mom was like, what is going on? What's wrong? I say, look. And she saw something coming out of me. And I'm trying to push it back up in me. It was so scary. It was so scary. And my mom told my sister, go get a blanket, go put it in my car, and we're going to the hospital. So that's what we did. So her and my son, needless to say, they are so close right now. Been close ever since. But my mom, her mind was just blown. Like,
was the baby born in the hospital or
the baby was born in the hospital, but barely. Barely. By the time we got there, and I'm not sure if somebody called, whatever, they were waiting on me. They were waiting on me. And this was before cell phones. But when I got there, they were like, they told my mom she just delivered a baby. So by the time I got on the stretcher, it was already coming. And when I say I was pushing that baby back up and I didn't know what it was, I'm like, oh, when you immature, you just, and back then, nobody really, I can't say they didn't talk to us about pregnancies and stuff, but I didn't know what I was doing. Even with the first one, it was longer. It was a pregnancy and it wasn't hidden. My mom, they wasn't expecting me to hide a pregnancy. I talked to them about the first one. So I would have told them about the second one if I would have known. But anyway.
So this is like the late 80s, right?
Yes. My daughter was born in 88. My son was born in 89. So they like a year and a half apart.
Yep.
A year and 6 months.
My kids are the same. They're 16 months apart. So how did your mom respond when you told her you were pregnant the first time?
Well, the first time I was scared out of my mind. And see, I have 3 older siblings. I have 3 sisters that's older than me and a brother. So I told my sister, and it made it easier for me. My sister Dorothy, she was like, okay, you stay out here in the car. I'm going to go tell mom and dad that you're pregnant. I said, oh, no, you're going to tell them that? So green, so immature. Now I'm like, wow, very immature. But anyway, that's how my parents found out. And then by the time I walked in and I told my mom and dad, matter of fact, I didn't even have to say anything. My sister had already told them. So when I walked in, my dad was like, well, what are you going to do? And what's going on? What's the plan? And I was living with my parents, so they knew what the plan was. Where was I going? Kalisha, where I'm going at this little age, 17 in 11th grade. I delivered 2 months before I graduated. 2 months. So I had my baby at graduation with me.
Nice. Well, that's amazing. And then, so what was your upbringing like? So you were raised in a two-parent household. You said you had two sisters or three?
Well, it was six of us all together.
Okay.
It was six of us all together. My mom and dad was like the Brady Bunch. My dad had three, and my mom had three, and then they got together and had three.
Wow.
Isn't that something? So my mother's children lived with us, and then my dad's children, of course, lived. So it was six of us growing up. So I always wanted six children. Isn't that something? How you want the same as your mom? But my mom was a teacher, and my dad, he worked at Duke Energy. So yes, it was a two-parent home, loving. And when I tell you, my parents, they're still alive, and I'm just so grateful. They're 81 and 85. I don't know if I want to
Nice.
say that, but I'm so proud of it.
And where do you fall in the lineup of the kids?
I'm number 5. And then my sister, I have one younger sister, Melanie. That's my little road dog, honey. You should have seen her in there trying to help me with a baby that we didn't know was a baby. I don't know what she could have done. Just like the first one, my sibling. When I tell you we didn't know, well, I didn't know anything about breastfeeding. And so after the baby, I'm like, oh God, my breast was so hard. And honey, we was trying to squeeze it into a mug. It was so funny. We laugh about it now. I'm like, why did we do that? Because I wasn't going to breastfeed. So why was I squeezing out my milk like I was going? I was trying to dry it up, not make it. Anyway, when you don't know, you don't know. That's
Yep,
all I can say about that.
that's
So
true.
yes, I'm number 5. And then, like I say, male. So it's male is my youngest, then me, then my brother, and then my 3 older siblings.
Okay. And what is something that you wish you had known before you had children that you didn't find out until later on?
Okay. Well, several things, but like I say, I was so green. When you're so young, this is what I can say to that. I didn't know so much. I didn't know anything about being a parent, but I didn't want my mom to do anything for me. So, like with my daughter, my mom, she come in, oh, you want me to feed her? You want me to get up? I wouldn't let her get up with me. I mean, she would get up and walk around the first few nights, whatever. But I really wanted to do it myself. I felt like I made the mistake and I wanted to, and I didn't even want to seem like a mistake because I'm so grateful. When I say, Kalisha, I'm so grateful that I had children at a young age because I would have never had children if it didn't happen then. I don't know if I would have children at this big age, like when I was in my 30s or 40s. By the time I watched people raise children, like for instance, terrible twos. When I heard people say that, I'm like, what is terrible two? I never had terrible twos. Did you have terrible twos with your children?
I don't recall anything like that, but with my grandchildren, because I started college when my kids were 2 and 3 years old. So they started preschool at 2 and 3.
Okay.
But when I had my grandchildren, who I've been more hands on with, it's the threes when they start to get terrible.
Right, right. And the threes, let me say this about my fourth child. It was the whining for me. I don't think Whitney did the whining. I don't think William did the whining. And my third child, that wasn't planned, but I was so happy to have that third child. I'm like, and then like the fourth child, I'm like, oh, I don't want to have a kid. But then I had a miscarriage, and that made me want that fourth child. And I'm like, was that weird or was that weird? I don't know. Maybe that's normal now, but it's like I normalized it in my mind, like, oh, I lost a baby, but I didn't even know I was pregnant. When I lost the child, it was what did that doctor say? Maybe a few weeks. When it came out, it was like a blood clot. So I wasn't big at all. But then it's like I wanted a child. Because, anyway, as weird as that might sound, like, look, like your story. Say your story for my people real quick.
Well, I had my son at 18 and had my daughter at 19. My mom had died when I was 15 years old, and that's when I decided I wanted to have a baby. But it wasn't until I was 17 that I met my kid's dad. Every boyfriend I had from the time that my mom died up
Uh-huh.
until I had my son, I was like, let's have a baby. And, they were sensible to say, let's not do that, and
Okay.
the guy that I was with at that time had said, he was like, you have your whole life in front of you. Like, you're really smart. Like, don't mess it up. And I was like, no, I want a baby. It wasn't about him. It wasn't about the relationship. It was about the baby, And then when I got with my kid's dad, but what's interesting is his dad had passed away as well as a teenager. So, and I was like, let's have a baby. He was like, okay. It was just really that decision.
Wow.
And so that's how, and it was my senior year in high school when I got pregnant. I got pregnant at 17. I graduated at 17. I had my son when I was 18. So like February after I graduated. So it wasn't as much of a challenge as trying to finish high school, but I was planning to go to college. And then I didn't know that you could like go a semester, take a semester off. I didn't know how college worked in that sense. So I
Right.
just decided not to go at that time. And so when my kids were 2 and 3 years old is when I decided to go to college.
Amazing. You did that. I'm so proud
Yeah.
of you.
But if I had to do again, I wouldn't do it that way. I may get one degree, but I have two bachelors and two masters, and it was just a lot of time away from my kids. And that time you can never get back,
Right.
you
Now
know?
that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. But
And
like
so
you said,
I'm really grateful that my daughter's at home with my grandkids right now because like she sent me a picture of the breakfast they were making that she made for the kids and pancakes and eggs and all this stuff. I didn't get to do we're hitting drive-throughs most of the time when they were growing up. But now my
understood.
my grandkids are eating like fresh fruits and vegetables with every meal and they're just getting just a better start in life than what I was providing for my children. So I appreciate that. She sent me a picture the other day that I posted on social media where she had taken my oldest two grandsons to the Home Depot. They have a thing where they'll do like some kind of project. And I went with them last
Yes.
month, but this month they planted some seeds
Okay.
and they started sprouting. And so she took a picture of that and sent it to me. And I was like, it's just so good that they get that hands-on time and it's just her and them. The little ones, sometimes they're there, but they're just sitting in the wagon. But, she gets to do these projects with them. And it's some experiences that you never forget.
Right. I
Yeah.
understand. But I applaud you for going to school and still being a trooper for just trying to give your children a better life. That's the way I look
Yeah.
at it. Because if I would have
Yeah.
been able to go to college, if I would have been able to have somebody to watch a child, people don't watch children like that now, and that's
Yep.
something I'm learning even now. When my daughter trying to get somebody to watch a child, it's not like you can call Big Mama and somebody just there to help you. And
Yeah.
my daughter, she lives an hour and a half from me. They're coming from the beach now. And I'm like, I called her just now, say, did y'all take pictures? They didn't take no pictures. Who going to the beach? And don't take, but she said it was chilly. So I just said, okay. But I'm like, oh, can y'all take pictures in the car just so I can have it? I want to post something. So
This
anyway,
is the daughter with the three kids.
right. And
Yep.
she's a single mother, but don't ask me who she went to the beach with the kids.
And how old are those grandchildren?
They are 3 years old, 7 years old, and 14 years old, and love their daddy. You hear me? So daddy went to the beach. Needless to say, he went to the beach with them. And when I was saying, "Oh, take a picture, y'all, take a," he was saying, "Oh, stop, oh, stop." I'm like, "No, I'm talking about for the children. We just want to have memories." And it's a trip when when I was having children, we didn't have social media. It wasn't no big deal. But I wish that I had pictures where even like when I met my husband, I'm like, I wish I had that picture of my children having such a great time at my mom's house. And we came back from the honeymoon and they were jumping everywhere at the door. Oh, God, it was such a good memory. And my husband, he was like, wow, they were just so happy to have a dad that stepped up. We're not saying stepdad over here, but we saying the dad that stepped up with my children, because I was a single parent for a long time. Well, it seems like a long time. My child was 5. My child was 5. And when, for people that know, if the dad is going back and forth to jail, you still a single parent. So I was a single parent. So when my second child came, I was a single parent, where I feel like I was a single parent. And it was a lot of abuse with that child's father. It was abuse. And even now I notice that I don't like to, just like this, what we're doing today, I feel like some of that hold me back because I'm like, oh, who's interested in my story? Who needs to know about domestic violence with an 18-year-old? Here I was in domestic violence and didn't even know what it was. This guy, we had finished having sex. This was even was that even after Whitney, and he just smacked me, and I'm like, what was that for? But when you're so naive, I just, and I know that parents, they try to protect their children, but I would say that's one thing I wish I would have known. I wish I would have known what that looked like, because my
Yeah.
dad was such a gentle guy, and I thought every person I met, and as dumb as it sounds, I thought every person I met was like my dad.
Wow. I think you froze a little bit there, but I was in an abusive relationship once as well, and like I think I still have the scar right here where the guy hit me in my eye.
Uh-oh, we went
And
out for a minute.
yeah,
Can you
I
repeat
was
what you
just
just
saying
said?
I was in an abusive relationship once too, and I still have like a little bit of a scar right here where he hit me in the eyes. It's not easy to see, but it's a little bit of a mark right there. I had to have a stitch in there. I was in college at the time,
Okay.
and wasn't my kid's dad, but there's other guy that I was with at the time, and I remember one of my I had a scratch on my face one time where
Mm-hmm.
he hit me with the phone, and one of my friends was like, "What happened to your face?" And she knew, she could tell because his personality and everything, she could tell,
Right.
and she had been in abusive relationships too. And
Right.
I made some excuse about it or whatever. And then when he hit me in the eye, I was done. And
Done.
like what happened is we were arguing. He had been to jail before we were together,
Mm-hmm.
and my kids were right there. We're arguing, and he pushed me, and I almost fell. And he grabbed me so that I wouldn't fall, but he
Right.
ripped my gown. And I was like, "And bro, like, are you really trying to go to jail for this?" And I said, "For 4 years for this?" And he said, "I don't give a F about 4 years." And wow, hit me in the eye. Blood started running down my face, all over my neck, all over my chest. My gown is soaked. My kids are right there. They're like probably 3 and 4 years old at the time. I asked them
Oh,
about it. They were like, they don't remember it, but I won't ever forget it because I
right.
remember seeing my mom get hit. And I was like, I
Right.
never wanted to be in an abusive relationship because of
Right.
that. I was scarred by that. I will never forget. Like I can see it right now. My mom been dead since 91. But
Mm.
I remember when that happened, and it was
Right.
so
So
impactful to me. I didn't want my kids to ever see something like that. And then when he
right.
hit me and then blood was all over me, I called the police. And what's crazy is how, it's a short tangent, but how 911 works. Like if you
Mm-hmm.
call 911 and you hang up, they call you back. I'm
Right.
like, you're going to get me killed calling back, talking about, did you call 911?
Wow.
you
Oh
know?
wow.
And so, like, I called, dialed 911 on the phone, and then I waited a little while so that, like, I was hoping that they would have picked up the call. Then I just unplugged it. Because if you take the phone off the hook, it'll start beeping to let you know it's off the hook. If you hang up the phone, then they're going to call back and say,
They're
hey,
gonna
did you call
call back.
911? So all of that's a dead giveaway. And I
Right.
was terrified that he was going to know I called 911 before the police
Terrified.
got there. Because he got too much time
Terrified.
to do something to me before the police get there.
Right.
And so I ended up, like, I'm waiting and waiting, and he wants to clean the blood up, and I'm like, don't touch me. Like, we're gonna keep this blood right here. And I'm waiting for the police to
Right.
get there. They don't come. So then I have to try to Like the where you plug the phone in is beside the crib. So now I'm squeezing beside the crib to plug the phone back in so I can call 911 again when he's in the kitchen, and I'm listening to hear the lady say 911. Then I hang up, I leave the phone, I unplug it again so they don't call back. And finally, the police ended up coming. And when I'm like walking through the living room to see when I see them, because I was in the back building. There's a front apartment complex, and then I'm in the back and upstairs. Right. And so, anyways, when I see the police in the front, I open the door and run out. He runs out behind me, and they pull their guns out because they were like, "Well, no, he's about to push her over the balcony,
right?"
Or what? And then he tried to lie about who he was, gave them a fake name. Right? What? I was like, "Wait, whose name is that?" They were like, "Is that not his name?" "No, that's not his name." They were like, "Can you give him ID?" "Yeah, here's the ID." But what ended up happening, and this is something that I was not expecting to talk about this today, but this is so important. I had a Black woman officer who took the report, and she was like, "Did he call you out your name?" I was like, "He didn't call me out my name." I'm telling her exactly what happened. Just recap the whole thing.
Right.
And she said, "Are you lying to cover for him?" Said, "No, I told you exactly what happened. I want him to go to jail. You know, and I'm the one turned in his ID, so they make sure they got the right person and all of that. What are you talking about?" But she had made up in her mind. She said, normally in situations like this, they call the person out of their name. "He didn't call you a B. He didn't call you that." Said, "No, he didn't." He said, "I don't give a F about 4 years," and punched me in the eye. I don't have nothing to cover for him for.
Right.
Well, then days go by, and I'm like, how come nobody has called me to like come and testify against him? Right. And so I called the court, and they're like, I said, "When is his court date?" And they said, "Oh no, he's being released in a week." And I was like, what? So they chose not to press charges, and I believe that it's because of what that lady wrote in that report. Wow. Because she didn't believe that I was telling the whole story, which I was. I'm not going to make up extra. He didn't call me out my name. I don't care if he did or he didn't. He hit me in the eye. That matters.
Right.
I called the police. I had y'all take pictures of me with the blood. I didn't let him clean up the blood or nothing so that y'all could have the evidence that you needed. I ended up having a stitch in my eye. The week later, I had a black eye for like 2 weeks. I was on the tennis team. Me and my partner are playing in the regionals because we were good. Right. And I'm there with a black eye. Folks are like, "Oh, would you run into a tennis pole?" I wanted him to go to jail. But because of what this lady put in her report, they chose not to even press charges against him. And so then he was out. So now I'm trying to get a restraining order. It's crazy because I'm like, I don't need to go get a restraining order because he's going to be in jail for the next 4 years.
Right. That's what you thought.
Violating his probation. No. Now he getting out in a week.
Wow. That
is been to my kid's school. So now I'm trying to get the restraining order, trying to get him served, give a copy to the school so he don't go pick up my kids. I'm just like going crazy at this point. And, but we got to do what we can when we find ourselves in these abusive relationships.
That's right.
So number one, to get out.
Right.
Number two, do whatever you can to press charges against that person.
Do whatever you can.
Fight as much as you can in that. And then choose to try to see the signs early on.
Or early.
To that. Early. Because those signs come up. And he had a drinking problem. And it would be when he was drinking that this stuff would happen. But don't make that as an excuse. Right. Like, if that's the case, he has a responsibility to get help for his drinking problem. Exactly. But what you're not going to do is make me into a punching bag while you figure out your drinking habits.
Right.
So I didn't know the conversation was going to go that way.
Well, but, honey, it's good. Somebody, you just saved some little girl. You just saved, because I feel like if I would have known just that right there, that would have helped me. When he smacked me in my mom's kitchen, I mean, I was not expecting that. And then my daughter is somewhere asleep. And I'm like, and we waiting for my mom to get off work, to pull in that driveway. And this is the kicker. He asked me, and I hope this helps some child somewhere, because there's stories of this right here. He asked me, could he kill my mom when she pulled in the driveway? And me being a little kid, me being 18, I'd already graduated. And I'm like, no, you're not killing my mom when she pulled in the driveway. And Needless to say, he didn't kill my mom. My mom is still alive. But weeks later, this is when I probably was pregnant with William. During this time right here, I was probably already pregnant. I know I'd already had my daughter. But with him saying that, I thought he was cuckoo as ever. And thank God I wasn't so in love that I just agreed to it. Have you ever heard of girls agreeing to stuff like that? Where they agree to, it, look, you gotta look it up. It's a girl. She just, I think she got life. He might have got life, and I think she's out. But either way, they put the mother in a suitcase. They put the mother in a suitcase, killed her, and put her in a suitcase. But anyway, back to my story. It's like I shook it off. I didn't say nothing to nobody. But a few weeks later, me and him was on the phone. We were on the phone. He was at work. And so this was his second time getting ready to go back to jail. Okay. So we were talking on the phone. One of my friend girls from 2 doors down from my mom's house. We were sitting there talking. We had met this guy. I don't even know. I think we met him at Burger King, whatever. And he was coming over to bring us some food or something. So we sitting there, and I'm on the phone with my children's father, and he heard the guy come to the door. And my friend that lived to, I'm gonna say her name, Valerie Mason. She went to the door, got the food. We didn't know this guy really, really good. We were just so happy to meet somebody because she was single, and I'm trying to hook her up, or I didn't know. Anyway, he heard us on the phone. He heard the guy. Do you know within minutes he was at my house? Within minutes he was at my house. The guy was gone. No. I'm wrong. The guy wasn't gone. The guy wasn't gone. My friend, I think she left. I think she went down the street to get paper plates or something. I have to ask her what she went to go get. But she had left not for long. And then it was one of my brother's best friends that lived in my mom's neighborhood. He felt so bad, Thomas. If I can get in touch with Thomas, I forgot his last name, but he felt so bad because he brought my child's father from work. They worked together. He brought him to my parents' house. He know my parents. We grew up together. And y'all ready for this? I don't even know if I'm ready to share this story, but I am. So he bust out my mom's window. He bust out the top, the bottom, and then he turned the knob. That's when we used to have those doors that you could just reach in and turn. We don't have those. Well, I don't know if people have them, but if you have something like that, you might want to get something. But anyway, he bust out the top and the bottom and came in, and my daughter was walking through the glass. So when my friend Val came back, she's the one saw my daughter walking through the glass, and she wasn't gone that long. I promise she wasn't. And then I was running through the opposite side trying to get out the back door. I ran across the street. Anyway, needless to say, I'm gonna show y'all my little mark. My children, every time they were so little, and they would be like, "Mom, what happened to me?" And back then, we didn't really. Can you see that? I'm not sure. But anyway, it's a scar, and it don't ever. Let me see. Right there. Let me take my pen so you can see it. But it was so deep. It was so deep. But anyway, my mom was called. The police was called. Thomas, he took off with my children's father. But when I tell you he was beating me up across the street, I would have never thought he would beat me. But see, that one smack, I should have learned from that, which I guess I did because he wasn't coming to the house. But when he heard that guy's voice, and he was already dating somebody else, so I don't even know why he was worried about the guy's voice. He was moving on, and he had already told me he was moving on. So I was the one sitting there heartbroken. We weren't even together, but then he didn't want me to date. So
yeah, it's about control.
Right. I wasn't even thinking about dating. Seriously, I wasn't thinking about dating. So that was my first That was my first situation with domestic violence. The second situation was with my last child's father. He's deceased now. But and I still blame me. Even then, I blamed me because I told him he would never see his child. And look, I lived on the second floor. Do you know he came up on the second floor on that balcony? I had a a deck. That's what I'm trying to say. Sorry. I had a deck. I didn't think anybody could climb up there because it was like on a hill. So don't be fooled. Don't think somebody cannot get to you just because you're on the second floor. Because he came up, he had the gun. I'm like, a gun, I wasn't ready for that. But even that day, it was a second time before that. Well, it was the first time, and he just had me in the car, like, oh, and I went to my friend's house, and I was like, girl, he have a gun. She was like, oh, girl, don't worry about that. He not gonna do nothing to you. How about my friend? She's the one got shot and killed by her boyfriend.
Wow.
Isn't that something? And I would say her name, but I don't know if that's appropriate to do that. But anyway, the same friend that I was trying to go to and say, hey, my man have a gun and we riding around, he wasn't pointing it at me too much, but he was like, well, listen at me. You see how I just did that? He wasn't pointing it at me too much. No such thing. No such thing. But anyway, a few weeks later, that's when he came through the balcony. And I had to get the SWAT team out there. I know my child probably never forgot that, but that's when I became a single parent for real, for real. And my daughter was 5, and I'm sure if you ask her, she remember. I'm sure because the SWAT team, when she woke up, the SWAT team was in her room. They were looking around. They were in the closets, and they have on black. So out of all my children, I'm pretty sure she's the only one that might remember that. Well, I know she remember that. She told me before, so she remember.
Wow.
But for the people that don't believe domestic violence is real, believe it from day one. When you see that red flag, run.
Yeah.
Run. And let me tell you how he got away. And I'm gonna be done with this. But he got away by a school bus. He laid flat on a school bus. He called me as soon as the police left because my parents were there in a flash. When I tell you I had some trooper parents, I gotta tell you, I had some trooper parents. Even with this guy, my mom, she was ready for me to let him go. She was like, "Nah, he too much." She said, "You have children, you can't be dealing with nothing like this." So we went through all that, right? And then, and I want to say even before that, I think it was, honey, I lived in Brighton Place. It was off of Providence, right? And it was housing, but I still had to pay $200 a month. So it was still housing. But anyway, and I thought I was doing something, honey. My little check was 300. I think my check was like 300. My little welfare check was $325. And I thought I was big bossing because I could pay my rent with 200. And every time I got that check, I went and bought my kids some Nike shoes. Whatever. My mom be like, "Girl, if you don't stop buying them some Nike shoes," I'm like, "Ma, every child deserve a nice pair of shoes going to school." She was like, "Well, no, when I get them something, I don't want them to turn mine away because you over there buying Nikes every day or every week." And anybody I dated, hey, they got to get them some Nike shoes or something. But anyway, let me tell you, when this man went to jail, I was just so relieved. I was so relieved. And but prior to that, my parents went through something. I had to apologize not too long ago. And they don't even recall. They don't. And I'm like, thank you, God. My parents in their 80s. So blame it on whatever you want. But I said, I went over there to apologize. And I say, Mom and Dad, I'm coming over here to apologize about something. And they were sitting down. What is it? What is it? And I said, do you remember when the police, I don't know if the police called you. I don't know how you all got there, but they were surrounding my truck. They were surrounding my trunk. I mean, and they were like, we don't know what's in the trunk. We don't know if it's a body, but it's an odor coming out of the trunk. So needless to say, they thought it was me. They thought I was in the trunk, but it was some meats. It was some meats that I left in the trunk because my car broke down at my cousin's house. And anyway, That was it was, but I'm like, Mom, do y'all remember when the meats were raw? They were stanking up that trunk. And I was like, Mom, do y'all remember that? And she was like, well, they didn't, I didn't open up no trunk. I didn't look in no trunk. I said, do y'all recall that they called you and said your daughter might be in the trunk? But anyway, that's still domestic violence. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
That was
Now,
terrifying.
so none of your children are with your husband?
None of my children are with my husband. Thank you, Jesus, honey. If they were with my husband, they would probably be on that charter bus with him. I would have been saying, baby, if you don't get this little baby out here. No, seriously, we always have a joke like that. I was like, honey, we can't have no kids. So when I met him, I had a 3-year-old and he had a 3-year-old. Well, half. Julius, look, Julius is my stepson. Well, I only want to say step. We don't say step. So I'm going to say my bonus child. And he looked more like me than my own children. He had my little cheekbones. Well, William had my cheekbones, but Julius looked like me more than, well, I don't know. Anyway, I've been told he looked like me. So when me and my husband met, my friends, they were coming over here. This is the same house we were in when I first met my husband. He had been here a year. He had been here a year, and my mom, she was like, "Oh, you gonna marry him? You gonna marry him? He already had a van for you because he was a DJ. So he had the minivan. It was a cute little van too, and I had a Toyota Celica. Baby, I thought I was doing big things until my mom stopped me. My mama was like, "Niece," now this is before I met my husband. She was like, "Niece, now you know you can't be dating people. You can't." And I said, "What you mean?" Because my last child's father, he died, and I was just so done with men. I was so grateful that I was able to date because that's the one that the SWAT team came through, and he was in jail. Just it was a lot. And me being in my 20s, I'm like, no, I'm gonna date if I want to date. I have 4 children, and in my mind, I kept saying, who would date me with 4 children? You know, who would date me with 4 children, and I'm a single parent. So I was ready to play. You can't tell me that sinning was not good then. Sinning was fun. And anyway, my mom, she stopped me. She said, you know you have a daughter. And she was like, do David know about Brian? And do Brian know about David? I'm like, yes, mom. I was at my own place. He had this house and I had my own house. And well, I had an apartment. And my mom was over there. Oh my gosh. She was over there one day when Brian came, and she was like, my husband named Brian. So she was like, hey Brian. She was trying to be all cute with him. And she was like, look, she's really trying to find out and pick what we were doing. She's really trying to be nosy, that nosy little parent. But anyway, needless to say, at our wedding, guess who had 200 people? My mom invited 200 people. I didn't even know 200 people. I'm like, what? I said, Mom, Dad, I don't care who show up for the wedding. I just look, as long as the preacher and my groom, look, as long as the groom showed up, I was fine. But anyway,
Yeah.
that was it, honey. When by the
You
time
know, so many times something that you said stood out to me. You said, I was wondering who was going to want to marry me with 4 kids. And so many times men will put that in women's head, like nobody's going to want you when you have so many kids. But I
right,
remember from the time you can have one and people will tell you, nobody wants you and you a single mom with 1 kid. So it doesn't
yes,
even matter. And it
yes,
doesn't matter who, if it's the right person, it's the right person. And it don't
right.
matter how many kids you have. And my cousin who I had on my podcast, she had 4 kids and married a guy with 4 kids.
We went
You
out
know,
again.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I said I have a cousin who has 4 kids and she married a guy with 4 kids. And so now they have a family of 10, including the two of them. But it's no amount of kids that you can have that somebody's going to say, I don't want to marry somebody when they have this many kids. It's something that people want to plant in your mind because they don't want you to go
Right,
be with somebody else. So they'll plant that
right.
idea in your head that
And
nobody's going to
that's
want you if you
that's
have
really
kids.
that's really what happened though, because when I first had the first child, and he was in jail when William was born, you know, so he didn't get a chance to say nobody wants you. But You're right about that. Even the second abuser said the same thing. Like, oh, you got 4 children. Nobody wants you but me. And yeah, it's a lie. But my daughter said that to me the other day. Like, mom, it's not like it used to be. And I'm thinking, what? And my sons, they've told me that before. But I raised my sons to be husbands and good boyfriends. And, you know, I pray to God, if their person have one child or 2 kids, I pray that they will be able to be okay with that. And one thing I can say about my sons, they are marriage material. They are. Only one married. Only one married, but each one of them have a person. Now I did have to check them a few times. Don't let me find out because I'll tell it. Oh, you're not the same one I met. You're not the same one that was over here yesterday. I'm that parent. I'm that
Mhm.
parent, baby. My children be ready for me. They be like, oh God, here come my mom. Uh-oh. I went to my son's house last week for the Easter, and one of his friends was over there, and I'm like, oh, his girlfriend. They was like, oh, they getting married. I was like, oh, y'all getting married? I thought they were already married because I've seen them before. But well, I see her at the parties or whatever. So I was like, oh, y'all been together what? They said 10 years. When they said 10 years, I'm like, look, I'm down here, they up there on the deck, and I'm like, 10 years. It don't take 10 years. Look, my son was like, mom, bumping up against me like, mom. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm just saying it don't take no damn 10 years. My mouth was wrong. So, and see, that's why I'm be wanting to. I'm gonna try to do the YouTube thing, but my mouth be wrong sometime, and I'm like, oh God. But I'm so serious. It does not take 10 years. My husband, it took us 6 months. Let me tell you, the first date. Oh, should I share this? The
I
first
was
date I
going to
did.
ask you about that. How you guys
The
met and hooked up and
the first date, I gave it up, y'all. I gave it up. And let me tell you why though. Because I wasn't planning on doing anything. Because I was with David and he was with his person. And I'm like, oh, and I wasn't sure what he was doing. We were trying, we had talked on the phone so much. And I met him because my little Toyota Celica, baby. When I tell you I was a single mama with a little well, I thought I was the it. Let me say that. I thought I was the it. I had a black Celica, I had a lean back. Baby, I thought I was doing things, big things. And it was a stick shift. You know how many women don't know how to drive a stick shift? Baby, I thought I was it. My daddy taught me how to drive a stick shift in my brother's Mustang. And honey, we were going up the hill. I'm like, baby, don't get stuck on the hill. Honey, it was so fun. That's how you learn. But anyway, needless to say, I met him when I was at my sister-in-law's job. He was delivering books for Black Pages. I'm not sure if you remember Black Pages back in the day, but that's how all businesses communicated back in the day. It was like the yellow pages. So he would have a stack of yellow pages and a stack of black pages. And it was just all businesses would want to be in the black pages. So anyway, I broke down at my sister-in-law's job, and she had this handsome little guy come help me boost my car. I'm like, oh, look at them legs. Honey, I was in the rearview mirror looking at them legs. I'm like, oh, he got some strong. Look, I'm like, oh, he had some strong legs walking away from me. I'm like, whoa. So anyway, a few days later, we were talking on the phone and talking on the phone. Baby, he been boosting my battery ever since. I'm just telling you. I'm just saying, baby, it's been 28 years and I still love him. He's still my guy.
I love it.
And he's not the stepdad. Again, he is the dad that stepped up.
Yeah.
So
So
I'm
how
just
did
so
come?
grateful.
You're also raising one of your grandchildren, right?
Yes, I'm
How did
raising
that?
one.
How did that come about?
Well, my my heart was in the right place. But now it's like the mother was 17. So of course it took me back to when I was 17. And then by the time she tried the first month, she tried the second month, and I was trying to do team playing. I was not attempting to just take on somebody else's responsibility because my mom didn't take mine. And my mom she really let all six of us raise our own children. She did
Mm-hmm.
not she did not just take over our children. So I didn't want to be that person. So anyway, that 6 month, we were riding in the car. I was taking her to go get the wick and the milk, and she was like, Mom. She called me mom, and she said, and it's really not my daughter, it's my son's child. My son live in California. But anyway, she said, Mom, I can't do this. And I said, What you mean you can't do it? She said, I can't do this shit. I said, What we talking about? And she was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it with this kid. I don't know if I can do this. But what I thought about is it was 12 children in her house. It was 12. Well, yeah, her mom had 12 children living with them. So at the time, it wasn't easy for me to drop them back off, knowing that it's 12 children and two adults that live in that house. And it was a big house, but even a 3 bedroom, where people sleeping? Seriously,
Yeah.
where's
Yeah.
my grandson really sleeping? And I never just went in and walked around, and I'm never taking over nobody's house and telling them how to live. So I just asked her, I say, well, hey, where you sleep? Or where's he at? And of course she wouldn't say nothing but uplifting. She wouldn't want to say anything else. So all I knew is it was 12 children. And when she said she couldn't do it, guess what I did? I pulled out my little paper. I wrote down, I had her write down whatever was going on. Oh, no, 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 no. I had her write down that she no longer wanted to do that. And what she put on there was, how does she say it? I still have it because that's what I go by. But it's like she just didn't want to at that time. And even now, she will come by. He'll go over there, but he don't want to go alone. He'd rather be here, and I just don't make him. And then my son in California, we've tried to do that in 2022 in second grade. He's in fifth grade now. Second grade, he went up there to stay with his dad, and he loved it. Had his own room, a balcony, and he loved the balcony in his room. I'm like, what little boy have a balcony in their room in California? And then they had a balcony outside the living room, so it was beautiful. Every time I went up there, I felt like I was at a resort. But guess who was flying free? Me. So when I was flying free, honey, I was up there. You think I still had him all the time anyway, because we so close, and I didn't want to miss a beat, and I wanted to make sure that my son was able to do what he needed to do, you know. So anyway, that is the story on that, and I'm so glad to have a little fellow around.
And how old is he now? You said 11?
He's 11. He'll be 12 in a few more months. And it's
Okay.
a trip that my sons were single parents. My son. So let me go through the names right quick. And all of them were W's until that last one. When Daddy, the SWAT team guy, he wanted it to be Gary, named after him, right? And I love the name Gary because what? My brother's name Gary. So I'm like, oh, that is kind of cute. So I have Whitney, that's the first one. William, that's the second one. I have Walter, which we call him Jimmy. His middle name is James. His son, we call him Little Jimmy, the one that lived with me. And then we have Gary. That was the last one. And Gary would have been Wesley, just so y'all know. If it was up to me, his name would have been Wesley because I love that Wesley Snipes. But anyway, it would have
Yep.
been Wesley.
Now, how has your parenting changed from when you were raising your kids to now raising your grandson? Like, what
Oh,
do you
honey,
do differently, or what things do you do the same?
my grandchildren can climb on this table right now. They can climb on this table. What else? What else you want to do? You want to climb on that brick wall? You want to hang your suit on that brick? You can do whatever you. Now my children, oh, they couldn't touch it, baby. And I'm not even a neat freak, but honey, they couldn't eat in the bedroom. We didn't have a TV in the bedrooms because we wanted that connection. And Bill Cosby back then was our thing. On Thursday night, Bill Cosby. So in this house, we were still watching, watching TV together when my children was growing up. I don't have a TV in my grandson's room either. He broke it and we didn't do it no more. So for the last 3 years, it's not no TV in there. So, and to be honest, you think it's good to have a TV in your child's room, but it really take away. I'm gonna say my little 2 cents. It takes away from family time because when you are watching TV, you're really not connecting. And one of my siblings, she never had a TV in bedrooms at all. And her child, one is a doctor and one is doing their own thing. It's like I really listen to that. My older siblings are like my mamas. They older than me, and I'm
Yeah.
not saying just a little older. They like 10 years older than me. So
Yeah, I don't have a TV in my bedroom either. And I used to, but when I moved to this house, I was just like, I don't want to, I'm not bringing a TV in. And I don't really have time. I'm focused on business. I don't really have time to be sitting down watching TV. And then I
mhm.
had the apps. I had to delete the apps because I'm like, I'm not going to be sitting here watching
Right,
show after show after show
right.
while I'm helping other people build their dreams and I haven't built my dreams.
I know that's right. Now that's true. Thank you.
Yeah.
Look, Myron Golden taught me that one. Myron
Hmm.
Golden say he was living a nightmare watching other people. No, he didn't have a TV in that room until I think his daughter was 16. I
Yep.
don't think they had a TV at all.
Yep.
He said he living a
Yep.
nightmare. No way.
Yeah. No, well, that's good. And so you said now to get your to more present day, you said your sons have been doing very well. They've been able to build businesses and stuff. How did that come about?
Well, to be honest, let's see, that was in 2014. 2014, my son, he decided to be an entrepreneur. And I wasn't really for it or against it. I didn't care either way. I just wanted him to do well. So him and one of his brothers, they wanted to do the towing service. And one of my other sons, they do box trucks. So those are the three. They are really doing well in their businesses. But I didn't realize my son was a millionaire until 2025. He don't never talk about it. He do nice things and he've always given me my vehicles. My dream vehicle was a Lexus. So he've always given me my dream cars and my nice vehicles, whatever. But again, I didn't know he was a millionaire until my granddaughter, she was like, neat, neat. That's what they call me for grandma, Niecy. So anyway, she was like, neat, neat. How does it feel to know that your child made it? And I'm like, oh, okay, I love it. I love that all my children made it. I would sound like my mama. What my mom would say. My mom would say, oh yeah, all of my children doing well. So that's what I said. And she was like, well, I'm so happy for us. I say, I'm happy for all of us. We're a village over here. And that's how we are. We're a village. And it really do take a village to raise successful children because I didn't do it by myself. I'm here to tell you, if it wasn't for my parents allowing my children, all my sons, even my daughter would go over there every Saturday and cut their grass. They would cut grass and get $7 every week. And do you know that was the best $7? My children be like, oh, we can eat lunch. We can spend. Well, I think lunch was, the little snacks was probably 25 cents back then, maybe $1. But they were just so happy. Oh, I can get a cookie. It's the small things that just mean so much to little children. And
Yep.
I'm so thankful. When I say I couldn't have done this by myself, didn't do it by myself, and my siblings, my daughter was saying the other day, she said, Mom, when we used to get in trouble and my aunts got on me, it was no, oh, I'm mad at the aunt and I'm mad at the mama and the mama mad at me. I was never mad at one of my sisters if I don't care what they did. I'm letting them do what they do because I know they're not abusing them.
Mm-hmm.
And my children, they wouldn't come running to me. Oh, my aunt hit me or your sister hit me or whatever. It's none of that. Today it is like that. Even with my children, I see my children do that sometimes. And I'm like, wait a minute. If the aunts or the uncle say something to your child, if they not whipping them, if they not, and sometimes your child might need a whipping, but we don't have to do that. Normally, I'm gonna say we don't have to do that because I think a 3 year old under three, you might have to tap and but even that tap is, let me say for my children, my sibling, my one of my sisters, I had three. Let me go back. I had three children that was getting ready to be in Pampers. They were getting ready to be in Pampers. And she was like, and I went to visit her in Tennessee. And she was like, Niecy, so when you had this baby, you mean you can ready to have three children? She said, you can ready to have three children in Pampers? I said, well, he gonna be in a pull-up by then, you know. And she was like, no, Niecy, no, no. You can't have one in pull-up. So William, he would have been in pull-ups, and because he was three, and the other ones would have been in Pampers. Because the one was three, one was one, and one was on the way. So here I am. I had my 3 year old in a pull up, the 1 year old in a pamper, and when I had the third little boy, she was like, "Niece, we're not having that." She said, "Do you want me to help you?" And I said, "I need the help." So look, she said, "Watch this right here." She said, William, when you have to go to the bathroom, you need to come in here and you need to sit on this little pot right here and go. And that's what happened, right? So when he had to go pee and he messed up the first time, he messed up the second time. That third time, she looked at him and said, William. And she tapped his little butt one time, and nothing wrong with it. You know how the Eagles, they swoop down and get their kids. Have you ever seen the Eagles swoop down to get their kids? They drop their child. So the eagle dropped their child, and then at the last minute, they swoop through and pick them up, right? So my sister, that's how I feel about my sister. And I loved it. When I tell you she popped him that one time, and he been peeing ever since. He peed ever since. I said, so it's not a bad thing to whoop a child under 3 or under 5, because that's when you teaching them. Right.
Well, see, I don't believe in whoopings. I feel like you can teach them without whooping them. And my kids got whoopings. But when I became a teacher, I was like, if I can get the kids at school to do what I want them to do without whooping them, I can get my kids at home to do what I want them to do without whooping them. And so now with my grandkids, I don't whoop them. But my grandkids are potty trained. The youngest one will be a year old next month, a month from tomorrow. Okay. It's the last two of them's birthday. So the 1 year old, he'll be 1 year old on May 13th, and then my other one will be 2 years old on May 13th. They had the same birthday. Really? And the 2 year old is potty trained. She's been potty trained for about 3 months now or so. But at about a year and a half, she's potty trained,
Well, that's good.
Yeah, she'll go by her, and she won't go nowhere else. She got to have her potty. My daughter's trying to get her to go on the toilet now because we went skating and she had to pee and she would not go at the skating rink bathroom. She just wouldn't go. And my daughter took her a couple times and she just kept crying and crying because she needed to pee, but she was scared to use that bathroom. So I took her to the bathroom. She wouldn't do it. But my daughter has a minivan, so she has the potty in the minivan. So I took her all the way back to the car so she could pee in her potty. And she was fine with that. And her bladder was full. That's why she was crying, but she would not go in that public bathroom at all. Wow. And so, but and my daughter, because my daughter she has 4 now and 1 on the way.
Okay.
And so it's only the baby that's not a year old yet that's still in diapers. And so she has a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old. She has this one that'll be 2 next month, and one that'll be 1 next month. And then this baby, the last baby, is due in June.
Oh, so she was 6 years old. 6. So she looked the same. 6 years
3,
old.
2, 1,
4 children. Wow. You go, girl.
Yep.
You go, girl, honey. It's still a challenge whether you have a man or don't have a man. Because sometimes you can have a man, you still feel like a single parent,
Yeah, I see it all the time. Like I have a friend, and it's funny because when I would talk about her, I'm like, yeah, she's a single mom. But then I was like, wait, she's married. She has a husband that's a truck driver and on the road. We're not there, but she operates like a single mom. Now she's divorced, so that she is a single mom now. But at that time that she was married, she still operated like a single mom because it was just her and the kids there all the time.
Yeah, and that's not easy. That's
Yeah,
not
and then
easy
she was
because
still working full time as a nurse, and so it's a lot.
yeah, that
It's
is
a
a
lot.
lot. Oh, because see,
Yep.
with my husband being in the charter bus business, he'd be gone sometime. But see, that's what made me want to be an entrepreneur myself because I was on the road with him for 3 months. We were in Washington. This was in 2024. And I'm like, wow, what can I do to make money while he's gone? Because I'd be in that hotel. It was a bad, when I say that was a bad hotel, that they had them in a bad hotel. And our grandson was there too. Well, I had one of my sons meet me halfway to get him because school was going on. But anyway, when he got there, he had a good time. It was like a little day bed in the window. So he can sit in the window and watch his granddad come in every night. He will see 20 buses every hour on the hour coming in and out. And I started selling my oils. I make oil and I make body wash and body stuff. So I started selling my items and hair products. And those people, those honey, they loved it. This one lady, she was like, "Oh, it's tingling. My hair is." I thought she was playing, but it really worked. And she was like, "I love that. Can I get some more?" And I was selling to the bus drivers. I thought I was doing something big. And then, like now, my husband he want me to sell it, and I'm like, "Oh, I don't know." And some of that I think is the abuse that I've been through. Some of that is like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to do it. Oh, I don't know." So I'm trying to get out of that little shell. That's why I'm
Yeah.
loving the morning meetup. I've been in the
Yep.
morning meetup before in 2023. I stopped right after one of my sons had a miscarriage. And when I saw that baby pop out and it was deceased, I'm like, it just, it made me, I had to go to therapy. And then it's like, even the therapist, by the time I started talking to the therapist, me and my grandson was in therapy. And by the time she would talk to, by the time she would talk to my grandson, Trosiah, she come to me and she tell me how good I'm doing and how so we never really got a chance to talk about my issue. My issue was my deceased grandchild, and she would always say, "Oh, you should be a doula." At the time I didn't even know what she was talking about. And I'm like, "A doula?" And she was like, "Oh, you so good with children." And oh, my friend, we didn't know what to do with her baby, her and her husband. You would be so good. And so anyway, needless to say, I stopped going to that therapist because I wasn't interested in helping people with their children. I was trying to figure out what was going on with me and
Mm-hmm.
my son and his wife, and it was a challenge to see somebody physically have a child and not have a child at home.
Yeah.
So that was hard for me. And I've been
That's-
through that before because one of my sisters did that, and I think I took it worse than her. And she finally had, matter of fact, she have a child named Solo. That's her one and only. He just had a child December 8th. But it's just the hardest thing for me to see somebody. I mean, we held my sister's baby and it was a baby. And I'm like, I cried like a baby. And my sister, she was looking at me like, "Oh, y'all can have babies. You have babies. And the puppies having babies." And we just be crying. And look, I was trying to help her with her breast milk. And it's just a challenge when somebody
mm-hmm.
get to that stage of
Yep.
having breast milk
Yep.
and they call you on the phone and say, "I have breast milk, but I don't have a child."
Yeah.
I didn't even know what to say. I mean,
Can't even imagine.
but I was so thankful when her and her husband they worked it out. I told her to get her ass back over there because when you have a miscarriage, your emotions are all over the place. So they
Mm-hmm.
had bought a house, separated from the house, and when he told her to come back, she was like, "What do I do? Do I go back?" I said, "You better get your ass back over there. You better go back over." So they went over there, made a baby, and Solomon is 23 now, maybe 24, because his daughter is 4 months. Anyway, my sister is overjoyed about her first grandbaby,
Mm-hmm.
overjoyed, and they waited like 2 years before they even had the baby. Listening to her, it's amazing how our children, I'm gonna say my children, they were not teenage mothers or fathers, and I'm so grateful. And I was telling my siblings, like, I cannot believe that none of my children's kids, my sister that's deceased, I just cannot believe that none of her children are married and none of them have babies. And I might need to talk to them. Like, what we doing? Why me? I think one of them getting ready to get married. So, and he's a firefighter, so he's doing well.
Okay. Now, have you always been a stay-at-home mom, or did you work a traditional job?
Yes, I did work. Well, look, that was my thing. When my children were little, I was just telling, and this one of my sons right here, I should ask him. Look, what I should look. Let me, wait a minute. Let me. Hello. Hey, look, I'm on a Zoom call.
We're on a podcast, and you need
We're
to
on a
call him
podcast.
back.
We on right. We on a podcast, and look,
we don't answer the phone during the podcast.
Okay, look, I wanted to ask him, do he remember certain things? We don't do that.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna call you back. Yeah. Okay, bye. Okay, so look, I ain't used to doing a podcast, so you got to tell me these things. But
yeah, both of my phones are on do not disturb because I don't take a phone call during a podcast.
Okay. Yep. So look, I was getting ready to ask him about the parenting doctor. I was going to have him tell you what time they had to go to sleep. That was the only reason I answered. Look, when I tell you, and I hope all parents, they don't have to do my system, but I was going to let him tell you what time they had to go to bed every day. And that's how I was able to date. My husband, when I met my husband, he was so impressed that no matter what day it was, he knew that we were going to have some time because those kids go to bed sooner or later. And at 8:00, even before him, I had to program myself because I just went through a deceased person, So when he died, I wasn't trying to get serious with nobody, but I knew that I wanted my time. And when I wanted my time, I'm like, you know what? I got to have dinner ready by 6, no later than 6:30. I got to have baths together. Everybody's situated by 7:15. And my daughter, let me tell you, my daughter, she would read to them every night at her 5-year-old age. And she would be reading to them and they would just believe everything she said. And I was like, impressed. Honey, that saved my life. That was my little lifesaver. They were like, oh, Whitney, and what happened to the bear? And what happened? And she'll say, oh, the bear, he read a book and they went to sleep. And I'm like, wait a minute, the bear read a book and went to sleep? She would tell them whatever it was, and they would just believe in everything she said. So that was my lifeline. So that was my time to finish up the dishes or do whatever I had to do. And then I remember one day she was like, Mom, it's kids outside. It's 8:00. It's 8:00. We got to go to bed at 8:00. And I say, you don't have to go to bed. You just have to be off the floor. Be off the floor, lay in your bed, read your book, do whatever you're doing. And I'm telling you, it worked. 8:30, every last one of them was asleep. So that's all I was getting ready to ask my son. I was ready to ask my son, and that was Jimmy's dad. That's the one from California.
Yep.
So.
No, that's good. Having those routines is so important because kids need that consistency as well. And they do their best when they have that consistency. And my last episode, I interviewed Lisa McClendon, and she was talking about how important it is for kids to get ample sleep. Yes. And how when they don't get that sleep, their behavior changes.
Right.
Sometimes they get acne breakouts. Like there's so many responses that the body has when kids don't get the right amount of sleep. That's but right. What most folks don't know is like little kids are supposed to be getting 14 hours of sleep every day.
14. Yes.
14 hours.
That sounds like a lot.
It is a lot, but it's what their bodies need.
Yeah. And they energized all day. So they are so tired.
Yeah.
So the routines are very important.
Yeah. That's so good. And it's also good that you were in position to be able to be home with your kids because there's so much that you were able to teach them just from being there with them.
Right. Yeah. And let me get back to your question. I worked at the airport while my children were in high school. And I'm so glad that I didn't have to really work when they were younger. Because for one, when I met my husband, I was in public housing. So with public housing, I only paid that $200 a month. And then I moved again because they were remodeling those homes. So I moved again. I was only paying like $50 a month. So I was working at Kelly Services or any temp service. So while they were at daycare, I could go to work. And then when I moved here with my husband, I was working at the airport. So I was at the airport for years. Love that job. But in 2020, when everything was going down, I was a scared little chicken. And now my son work at the airport. So now I still fly free.
Yeah. What
So
air did you work for, an airline, or you work for the airport itself?
I work for Piedmont. I work for Piedmont Airlines and loved it. I didn't even realize Piedmont was still around when I got the job. I was trying to apply for American because my brother, he's been there for 20 plus years. And then my
Mm-hmm.
brother-in-law, he's been with the air, let me see, over 30. He was with United, he was with US Airways. US Airways, he old school. So that's my
Mm-hmm.
sister Dorothy's
I used to
husband.
work for TWA back in the days.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Old school.
Old
But
school.
yes, yes. I thought I was applying for American Airlines. And then when I got into the orientation, they said Piedmont Airlines. I'm like, what? Had no idea they were still around. I remember when they first opened, and I was a little girl then. We were getting their little, you remember the little peanuts they used to have? The little peanuts and
Mm-hmm.
okay. And they had a little Piedmont. I'm like, what? Piedmont Airlines still around? But anyway, my son, he worked for American. And I was doing the ramp because you start out on the ramp. I was lifting them big bags, honey. I thought I was doing something. And I was in my 40s. And then when I turned 50, I'm like, Lord, look, when I tell you them bags got heavy. So I went to the lab, where you're dumping the waste, the lavatory. So I was dumping the waste, and then I moved on up a little bit, and I was doing potable water. So I would just ride around in the tug and hook up the water to the plane for the flight attendants in their sink, and then I go to the back and then hook it up for the water and the toilets in the back of the airplane. But anyway, I have been fortunate not to have to work as much with my
Mm-hmm.
husband. He's been so supportive though. Even with my grandson, he know I can't work but during the hours of school. But I'm so proud of him. When I say that's my trooper, that is my trooper. He remind me so much of my father though. That's what's ironic. This one really does remind me of my father. And he's a hard worker. He just paid off this house last week. So I'm like, yay. So we can ready to go celebrate. So if y'all check out my page and see me out there celebrating and raising the roof a little bit, we celebrate.
As you should.
And me and him, we also do trips. We do trip. Matter of fact, we have a trip next week. We're going to the casino. We've been doing it for like 15 years now, almost 20, almost 20 years, because that was 2010. Yeah, we started doing those in 2010. So 16 years.
Okay.
And we do it every month, once a month. And we go to they have a Danville, Virginia. They have a new casino. And I'm not even a gambler. I don't like to gamble, but it's the scenery, it's the people. We've met such good people. It's the
Yeah.
community for me.
Yeah. That's important. So I'm not gonna keep you all day, but what are some of what pointers would you have for other parents who are single parents, in just in being the best parent they possibly can?
Well, my thing, I would just advise just to do the best you can, and whatever you don't know, you ask somebody. Ask somebody that's seasoned, because I feel like I'm a seasoned parent, and I feel like I can. It's nothing that I can't tell you about, show you somebody that's been through it, or we figure it out together. It's a way. So I think anybody that's 45 and up, they will help you figure out parenting if they have a child. And it's some single parents that, some single people that don't even have children that can tell you about a child. My god sister, she don't have a child, but she can tell you more things about a child than I can. just helping me with mine. Because I had a whole village over here. I'm here to tell you, I had a village. And I'm so thankful for that village.
Yep. It's so important. And I had a huge village too, but also my biggest regret was not being there. You had a huge village and you were also present, and so that's the beautiful part of your experience. For me, I had my dad, my grandma, my brothers, my kid's dad, his mom, his aunt, his grandma, his brothers. And so we had a huge village, but if I had to do over again, I would want to be there. I'd rather be
Mhm.
present because there's nothing that can take the place of you physically being there.
And see, you feel that way, but I mean, and I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with you, but I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing that you have a master's. You say you have two masters. You go, girl. You go. I mean, what a blessing. Just think your children can see that. Your children can see your hustle. And
Yeah,
yeah, and that's just like my children. They see me stay at home, but they see me still doing other things. I'm still grinding in other ways. And that's one thing about my friends and family. They like, girl, you gonna find a way to make you some money. You gonna find a way to do the. And I'm not doing nothing illegal, you know. So I don't know. I think it's a beautiful thing that you were able to go out there, figure it out, get your degrees and diplomas, and go make some money. And your
yeah,
children, you might want to ask them, your children would rather mama make money and be able to take them on trips and be able to do things than mama sitting at home and looking around like, and I thank God if it wasn't for my husband, we wouldn't have been going on vacations and going places. So
yeah,
it just depends on who's looking at you. Because
yeah.
I'm looking at
The problem though is I didn't have the time. So the struggle of my life has been having time and no money, or money and no time. And the
okay,
key is to have time and money at the same time. But when I
right.
was teaching and then I was getting my master's degree at the same time, and then I had taken a $14,000 pay cut in order to teach. So then I was tutoring after school, proctoring ACT exams on the weekends, teaching
Mm,
summer school every summer. We just didn't have the time. And so
right,
when my daughter had my grandson in 2019, she was like, "Will you move to Vegas and help me with the baby?" I said, "Yes." And so I got here 3 days before he was born.
oh,
And the same, I mean, we were like this all through COVID. It was just me and him, And when my daughter would be working, she would drop him off with me, and it would just be me and him. And so,
oh, that's so sweet.
yeah. And so I
And
try to go to all the school events and all of the sporting events. And, I just want to be there. And I feel like
right,
it's an opportunity to do it over and do it better
right,
because I didn't feel like I did it right the first time. My kids didn't get to be involved in sports. And if I had to do over again, I would make sure that they did have those
mhm,
extracurriculars. Like I used to play softball. I used to coach softball. There's no reason why my daughter didn't play softball.
right.
She tried out, she practiced with the team a little bit, but then she didn't go forward and try out. Um, and there's more that I could have done and that I will do differently with my grandkids. But
Right.
every single area that I know that I didn't do well, I talk to
Mhm.
my kids about. And it was
Right.
important for me to tell them like this didn't I wish I had done this thing differently
Right.
because I don't want them repeating the same patterns. So
Right.
many times we hear parents say stuff, people say stuff like, "Well, my parents did this to me and I turned out all right." And I'm like, "You didn't really turn out all right. I'm looking at you. You didn't you don't see what I see." But
Right.
um but I don't want my kids to do that. I don't want them to
Right.
later be like, "Oh, my mom, worked full time and went to college full time and I turned out all right." No, let's do things better this time.
Yeah. Yeah. I see what you're saying though.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to say I applaud you for because that's work. It was hard for me just to get through 1 year with a child, and I didn't even have to go through it the entire year because I was pregnant. But
Yeah.
it was wow. I applaud you. I think it's a beautiful story.
Thank
And
you.
and at least some little girl sitting there like, oh God, I'm gonna have a baby and I won't be able to go to college. You did it. They gonna look at you and say she did it. Maybe not 2 and 3 and 4 colleges and 3 and 4 diplomas, but you got that degree, master's degree twice. Amazing.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to share some of your story with me, um, and give some advice to people who may be listening. And I think it is our responsibility as the 50 something crowd to
Yes,
be able to
ma'am.
share what we know to people and to be able to make sure that they don't have to repeat the same mistakes that we made if they can learn from the mistakes that we
Right.
made. And so I appreciate you just being, an open book and sharing your story with us. And I'm gonna call you soon as we get off this call.
Okay. Thank you so
Yep.
much. And
Any
we might have
closing words before we go?
I'm sorry.
Any closing words before we go?
Oh, I was going to say we might need to do a part two. We might need to do a part two, honey, because I have more to say. Look, to be honest, I would love to introduce you to each one of my children or show you how they live, how they are actually making their millions,
Okay.
you know? And maybe I'll just do one. I don't have to do all five, but because, like I say, two of my children, they just like their jobs, the
Mm-hmm.
airlines and the bank.
Yep. Well,
But
thank you again. I'm gonna go ahead and close us out. Thank you all for watching another episode of the Don't Screw Up Your Kids podcast. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't. I would love your feedback in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you all on the next episode of the Don't Screw Up Your Kids podcast. Have a great day.